March 15th, 44 BC. Julius Caesar walks into the Roman Senate. He's the most powerful man on earth. In less than an hour, he'll be dead, stabbed 23 times by the very men who called him friend. But here's what haunts historians to this day. The final blade, the one that truly killed him, came from Brutus, his protégé, his confidant. Some say his own son. The man Caesar loved most became the man who destroyed him. How does that happen? How does trust turn to treachery? How does loyalty become the weapon that ends your life? Betrayal, trust, power, death. Today, we dissect the greatest political assassination in history. Not just what happened, but why. Because the forces that destroyed Caesar are the same forces that destroy friendships, partnerships, and empires today. And if you don't understand them, you might be next. Rise of Caesar. Before we understand the betrayal, we need to understand the man. Julius Caesar wasn't born into power, he seized it. In a Rome ruled by wealthy aristocrats, Caesar was a gambler. He borrowed fortunes to fund political campaigns. He conquered Gaul, modern-day France, and became the wealthiest man in Rome through war. But wealth wasn't enough. Caesar wanted something that threatened every powerful man in the Senate: absolute power. I came, I saw, I conquered. Those famous words weren't just arrogance, they were a warning. Caesar moved fast, he thought fast, and he accumulated power faster than anyone in Roman history. By 49 BC, he had crossed the Rubicon River with his army, an act of war against Rome itself. The Senate had ordered him to disband his legions. He refused. Civil war erupted, and Caesar won. Within 4 years, he had defeated every rival, crushed every enemy, and declared himself dictator for life. Dictator for life. That title would seal his fate. But there was one man Caesar trusted above all others, a man who would soon hold the knife. Brutus the beloved. Marcus Junius Brutus wasn't just Caesar's friend. The rumors said he might be Caesar's son. Caesar had an affair with Brutus's mother, Servilia, around the time of Brutus's birth. Whether true or not, Caesar treated Brutus like family. When Brutus fought against Caesar in the Civil War, siding with his enemy Pompey, Caesar gave specific orders: do not harm Brutus. Capture him alive. After winning, Caesar didn't punish Brutus, he promoted him. He made Brutus governor of Gaul. He named him praetor, one of the highest positions in Rome. Trust, promotion, power. Caesar saw something in Brutus that he valued above military strength: honor. Brutus was known throughout Rome as a man of principle, an idealist, a true believer in the Roman Republic. And that idealism would become the very weapon used to destroy Caesar. If this story of misplaced trust is resonating with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more forgotten history that shapes our world. Because what comes next reveals how even the deepest bonds can shatter. But here's the question: why would an honorable man commit murder? The conspiracy. The plot against Caesar didn't begin with Brutus, it began with fear. 60 senators, 60 men who had once supported Caesar, began meeting in secret. They called themselves the Liberators. Their leader was Cassius, a military commander with a personal grudge. Caesar had passed him over for promotion. But Cassius knew the conspiracy needed more than angry senators. It needed legitimacy. It needed Brutus. Cassius from bondage will deliver Cassius. Cassius worked on Brutus for months. He planted anonymous letters around Rome reading: Brutus, awake, see yourself. He reminded Brutus that his ancestors had expelled the last king of Rome 500 years earlier. He weaponized Brutus's own honor against him. Honor, duty, republic, ancestors. The argument was simple but devastating. If you truly love Rome, you must destroy the man who would enslave it. Brutus wrestled with the decision. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't eat. His wife Portia noticed his torment and stabbed herself in the thigh to prove she could keep his secret. Torment. Finally, Brutus agreed. The man Caesar loved most had chosen Rome over friendship. But was it really about Rome? Caesar's blindness. Here's what makes Caesar's death so tragic. He had every warning. A soothsayer had told him to beware the Ides of March, the 15th day. His wife Calpurnia dreamed of his murder and begged him to stay home. Strange omens appeared across Rome. A bird flew into the Senate holding a laurel branch and was torn apart by other birds. The signs were everywhere, but Caesar ignored them all. Why? Because Caesar had grown to believe he was untouchable. He had survived civil wars, assassination attempts, and political enemies. He had crossed the Rubicon and won. He had been declared a god by the Roman people. Power does something to the human mind. It creates blind spots. Caesar dismissed his bodyguards because he believed Roman citizens would never harm him. He walked into the Senate on March 15th with absolute confidence. The very success that made him powerful made him vulnerable. He saw the senators gathering around him. He thought they came to honor him. He was wrong. But the deepest cut was still to come. The assassination. The attack began without warning. Senator Casca struck first, slashing at Caesar's neck but only grazing him. Caesar grabbed Casca's arm and shouted, "Villain, what are you doing?" Then the others descended, 23 senators, 23 daggers. Caesar fought back at first, using his stylus as a weapon. But he was 65 years old, surrounded and outnumbered. Blood Senate chaos. The ancient historian Suetonius recorded what happened next. As the blades pierced him, Caesar looked up and saw Brutus among the attackers. Their eyes met, and Caesar spoke his final words. "Kai su teknon," you too, my child. Not et tu, brute as Shakespeare wrote, but something more devastating. Teknon, child. In that moment, Caesar wasn't addressing a senator or a friend. He was addressing a son. Son, the betrayal wasn't just political. It was personal, intimate. The kind of betrayal that breaks something deeper than bones. Caesar stopped fighting. He pulled his toga over his face so no one would see him die. He fell at the base of Pompey's statue, his former enemy, and bled out on the marble floor. The aftermath. The assassins expected celebration. They thought Rome would thank them for liberating the Republic. They were catastrophically wrong. When Mark Antony displayed Caesar's bloodied toga at the funeral, Rome erupted. The mob wanted revenge. Citizens burned down the houses of the conspirators. A poet named Cinna was torn apart by the crowd simply because he shared a name with one of the assassins. Brutus and Cassius fled Rome within days. The republic they claimed to save descended into another civil war, the bloodiest Rome had ever seen. Here's the bitter irony. By killing Caesar to prevent tyranny, the conspirators guaranteed it. Caesar's adopted son Octavian hunted down every assassin. Within 2 years, Cassius was dead by his own hand. Brutus, surrounded by enemies at the Battle of Philippi, ran onto his own sword. Suicide defeat irony. And Octavian, he became Augustus, the first true emperor of Rome. The Republic died not because of Caesar, but because of those who killed him. The cure was worse than the disease. Brutus's burden. What tormented Brutus in his final days? The ancient sources give us glimpses. Before the Battle of Philippi, Brutus saw a ghost in his tent. When he asked who it was, the apparition replied, "I am your evil spirit, Brutus. You will see me at Philippi. I shall see thee at Philippi." Whether supernatural or psychological, Brutus was haunted. He had killed the man who loved him most, and for what? The republic he fought for no longer existed. The freedom he promised Rome had drowned in blood. His own blood. Brutus discovered that noble intentions don't guarantee noble outcomes. This is the tragedy of idealism without wisdom. Brutus believed so strongly in abstract principles, liberty, republic, honor, that he sacrificed concrete relationships. He chose an idea over a person, and in the end he lost both. Idealism, tragedy, loss. Some historians defend Brutus as a man who followed his conscience. Others condemn him as a fool manipulated by jealous rivals. The truth is probably both, but his story warns us. Beware of those who love principles more than people. Anatomy of betrayal. Why do friends betray friends? Psychology offers insights that would have served Caesar well. Betrayal rarely comes from enemies. It comes from those close enough to hurt us, those we've trusted with our vulnerabilities. The pattern is consistent throughout history. The betrayer must first convince themselves they are the hero, not the villain. Brutus didn't see himself as a murderer. He saw himself as a liberator. This is what psychologists call moral disengagement, the ability to reframe harmful actions as righteous. Justification. Second, betrayers often feel they deserve more than they've received. Despite all Caesar's generosity, Brutus may have resented being indebted. Every promotion felt like a chain rather than a gift. The people who owe us the most sometimes hate us for it. Third, betrayers need permission from a group. Alone, Brutus might never have acted, but surrounded by 60 senators calling it noble, murder became duty. Group validation makes the unthinkable acceptable. Understanding these patterns won't prevent betrayal, but it might help you recognize the warning signs before the knife falls. Caesar's mistakes. Was Caesar entirely innocent? History demands we ask harder questions. Caesar's arrogance contributed to his death. He accumulated too much power too fast. He put his image on coins, something no living Roman had done. He wore purple robes. He accepted divine honors. It is not these well-fed, long-haired men that I fear, but the pale and the hungry-looking. Caesar knew exactly who to fear. He said it himself. Yet he kept them close and dismissed his guards. Arrogance, blindness, death. Here's the lesson. Success can become a prison. When everything goes right for long enough, we stop imagining it going wrong. We dismiss warnings. We trust the wrong people. We believe our own mythology. The gods make mad those they wish to destroy. Caesar crossed the Rubicon and conquered Rome. But he couldn't conquer his own blind spots. He couldn't see that the very men praising him were sharpening their knives. Power doesn't just corrupt, it isolates. And isolation makes us vulnerable to exactly the people we should suspect most. Eternal lesson. 2,000 years later, we're still telling this story. Why? Because it contains truths that never expire. The Caesar-Brutus dynamic plays out in every boardroom, every family, every nation. Trust given too freely. Power accumulated too quickly. Idealism weaponized against relationships. Warnings ignored until the knife falls. The patterns of ancient Rome are the patterns of today. What can we learn? First, power requires constant vigilance, not just against enemies, but against your own blind spots. Second, beware those who claim to act for principles rather than people. They may sacrifice you on the altar of their ideals. Third, the people closest to you have the most power to destroy you. Guard your trust, but don't let suspicion poison your relationships. Trust, vigilance, wisdom, balance. Caesar's death didn't end Rome. It transformed it. And that transformation echoes through every empire, every organization, every friendship that rises and falls today. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Are you listening? Julius Caesar died because he loved the wrong person too much and trusted his own invincibility. Brutus died because he loved an idea more than the man who elevated him. Both were destroyed by their own blind spots. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves. This story isn't really about ancient Rome. It's about you. It's about every relationship where trust becomes a weapon, every success that breeds arrogance, every principle that becomes more important than people. Power, trust, betrayal, wisdom. The Ides of March happened over 2,000 years ago, but somewhere today a Caesar is ignoring warnings. Somewhere today a Brutus is convincing himself that betrayal is honor. The names change. The story doesn't. If you made it this far, comment beware the Ides if you'll remember these lessons. The truth is never comfortable, but it's always worth knowing. History has more to teach us. Subscribe if you want to learn. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant.